Let's first review. Sometimes there are some obvious game design suggestions, like make good games. You can say, thank you, Captain Obvious, and that is all. But I want to go deeper, and as Captain Obvious, we can consider Captain Smollett from Treasure Island, Russian-speaking world incarnation of Captain Smollett, Captain Obvious. Do you remember this situation from the cartoon? Like he's spotting through the spyglass, he's spotting the gun. They are loading the gun. Why? They are going to shoot. And then he gives a command, double quick. So, in this manner, I'm going to review modern and older indie games and find some insights for game development, find some good tactics so to spot fact, to understand the fact, and to give some suggestions. So, some more about obviosity. Sometimes information which could seem obvious, like you are in elevator, this is obvious, it's information in the elevator. But if we look at closer, we can see that you are in elevator number 6. This is important information to know when you get stuck. So, why am I speaking on this? Because here I represent Enhance, startup for mobile developers, and FGL, a community of developers and publisher. So I've reviewed 2,000 games by other developers as developer relations and made 30 own games, and also I run Global Game Jam Eastern Europe, so I have some experience of knowing what other people do and what are good practices to do this. So let's start. Let's look at this game. It's Orbit. Has anyone played it? This game, it seems to me, it's crossed 10 million of installs. It was the winner of Google Play Indie Game Festival 2017, and I was really jealous because it has a very simple idea. This is very simple. You should just launch bodies around the center of gravity and let them rotate. Usually when I learn new programming language, I make this as prototype and stop. But these guys did a very clever way. They made a clean prototype and released it. So why the idea of this game is very simple? To make it very quickly and release. So this is how now one way for indies to succeed now when market is overwhelmed and big publishers are spending big budgets to promote their games is to make something simple and release it quicker. So we can give plenty examples of this approach, like clicker games, like Miner Tycoon game, when you just tap and receive money. This game boosted really well. Also, a very fun game by Russian developer Megabyte, his nickname. This game was born after the Game Jam themed Greed. And you see the game idea, you have to put your game hand through guillotine and grab money and return back. So right now the mobile version has about 5 million of installs. So making games simple and release, this is what first observation of Captain Obvious would be. Also this one game trio by George Zarqua. You just simplest game which children encounter in their lives. Just triangle through pyramid, bar through rectangle, and this game was launched really well. So let's go further. When you have a game, then it starts growing. It has many gameplay concepts. Like this one was best congregate game in 2014. It's called Dolly Ship, and you see there are many game elements. But these game elements and concepts are introduced gradually. So here we see portal, track, some fruits, balloons, but this is not the first level. This is like level 9 or 10. So why do developers gradually introduce concepts? To let the player get into the game, to let the player understand the game. So the learning curve, smooth learning curve is very essential. And it also gives the player an explorer feeling. It can be proved by some more examples, like modern idle games, like games by Berserk Studio, Zombie Idle. Here you have campaign map, some stats, some upgrades, but they don't appear in the game at once. They appear step by step only when the player is ready to use them and to understand them. So now the game, this is Ragdoll Cannon from good old times, 2008 or something. Has anyone played it? Ragdoll Cannon. Well, it was a legend of Russian-speaking game dev industry. There were several posts about it, and many game developers, including myself, joined game development after seeing the success story of this game, Ragdoll Cannon, by Johnny K. And what we can spot here is that series. This is series. So the developer releases the game in series. Why? To fully utilize the success of the first part and to fill the new niche with own games. So he started making a game about launching Ragdoll from the Canon. It did well. Then he made a sequel with a different art style. The different art style didn't do well. Then he returned to original art style and started making sequels, level packs, and released it first to web, then to mobile. One more great example of successful series, which was born during Game Jam, is Transmorpher game, also from Flash Game Dev.ru forum. First it was a Game Jam themed transmutation, so a game about alien who changes the shape was made. And then Transmorpher 2 was released. Much more work was made to make Transmorpher 3, about 1 year between 2 and 3. But still, it's good to use existing code base to make new games and to extend your portfolio. So I will tell you one of the recent stories of game developers and about this equation. So right now, the developer nicknamed Dragosha is making a very ingenious game, Look Your Loot. I definitely suggest you to check it. It's really innovative and capturing the player's attention. And he shares his development story, but just 2 or 3 months after he started sharing that players like these game concepts, 1, 2, 3, at least 3 clones appeared in Play Market. So be ready that if you find a good, simple gameplay idea and nice art and the game goes well, be ready for the clones. But here goes the sequel or even self-cloning. If he had one more clone, then he had 2/5 of the market. But right now he has only 1/4 of the market. But 2/5 is bigger than 1/4. So for the original creator, it's easier to self-clone. So it should be taken into account if you find something interesting. Plan ahead to release several sequels. So again, now the game about, this is called Bitcoin Miner. You build Bitcoin miner farm, mine Bitcoins, go to exchange, get some upgrades. So this game is built around hype. And this is the 4th point which I want to talk, hype. So why does this game implement currently hyped theme? To get extra attention and to get download boost. So when something interesting is happening in media, in real world, and you have good prototyping skills, or perhaps you have a game prototype which is almost ready for release but lacks only some features, it's good to release a game which would feature the current hype. And that will boost you significantly. So beside this Bitcoin miner, a very good example is Duterte Fighting Crime game, which I always give an example from a Filipinian game developer from FGL community. This guy, Duterte, is Philippine president. At that time, he was a president candidate, and he was known for his quite fun behavior, unusual behavior, and they decided to make a game about this Duterte guy, and they reached 20 million of installs on mobile. I must note that hype is not the only key factor for the game to succeed. As they said, the studio is called E7. As they said, there were about 20 competitors who also made the game about Duterte, but only they managed to succeed because they combined hype with other elements of success, like good art style, balanced gameplay, and so on. But sometimes if you are making the game about hype, a very useful advice is not to keep the game in development for too long. So I saw this game, Paper Knight, at DevGam in 2015, and the game is basically about a guy who participated in Ice Bucket Challenge, got a bucket stuck on his hand, and decided to be a selfie knight. But for 2015, it was a hype theme, but still the game isn't beta on Android, and perhaps it was only 2 or 3 months ago released to iOS. But now the game about Ice Bucket Challenge participants won't get as much hype as it could get in 2015. So the developers lost that time, but I hope they will gain also some attention because the game was the end is really well. So next, let's go to gameplay, some gameplay moments. So this game about a burglar who goes around the neighborhood, steals something, and if he gets to the attention of the police, he starts running away. So very useful gameplay advice is that the collision boxes of the enemies are slightly smaller than their sprites. Sizes. And the collision boxes of good, like money or some other elements, are slightly bigger. Why? To create the situation of near miss when you are almost caught by the policeman, but you evade and this give you, I escaped, let's play more. So this practice was used by many game developers and starting perhaps from the Cannibal developer. Do you remember this classic game from 2004 or 5 when you run along the roofs, you jump to the next roof, you jump again? So the developer in his postmortem wrote that the actual size of the roof is like 8 pixels bigger than its graphics, and it gives the player such situation, oh, I almost got it, let's play more. So now to the visuals, because many indies are programmers, and making programmers art is very difficult. So, but it's possible to make visuals use stylized visuals. Like for this game, it's called City of Anarchy by Global Game Jam Belarus winners 2015. Looks like the game was drawn as if it was hand-drawn with a pen. Why? To keep a simple art style and let even the programmer art look good. So to make art style, developers should think about one simple concept and try to fit all the game elements, including the menus, including the backgrounds, into this concept. Like one concept is everything is drawn by pen, like also it was in Ragdoll Canon. Another about Orbit game, also one simple concept, simple shapes, simple lines, and nothing extra. I tried to use this concept as well. For me, being a programmer, it's also very difficult to produce my own art. So for my Steampunk Idol spin-off for next version, I use the concept everything is made of polygons. It became much cleaner art. So the developer for Anti-Joy uses this simple art, and it's perceived by the players really well. So, but sometimes you can look at the game, which has 10 million of plays on Congregate and many more on other websites. It's HTML5 game, and see that it is no art. So this game has no art at all. It's just a spreadsheet. It's called Swarm Sim. A very interesting game about herding the swarm of Zerg-like creatures. So why? Because making the game with no art lets the player use the most powerful graphic art the player owns, the player's imagination. So the developer just gives the numbers, and the player imagines, okay, I have hives, here I have some devourers, stingers, drones, and it's not the developer to care how these creatures would look like, it's the player's task. So, and this approach has a right to live, and it's well used in other mobile games such as Text Quest. Right now we can see the rebirth of Text Quest genre, which were one of the first genre of games when there was no art at all, and now the developers continue making text quests which are liked by the audience. So this was about an art. What about the sound? I can give example of our own game with George Zarqua. It's called Alien Anarchy. And here, what I'm particularly proud of my work as a programmer is that we managed to make every shot in this game sound slightly differently. So typically when you make like a machine gun, the developers often make one sound sample and repeat it. But it's better to add some variety and to remove the audio repetitiveness. But how to do this? Let's go to math. If we use this octave, then the frequency of this note is 2 times bigger than the frequency of this note, so we have 12 steps here, and each note is 10594, has higher frequency than the previous. So we take one sound sample and increase, apply Doppler effect. We get another sound sample, and let's take about 5 or 6 sound samples of a shot, and picking one at random, we will add good audio variety, which was noticed by the players and achieved by the critics. So again, a sample from my game, which is Steampunk Idle Spinner, and you see here the game has very badly drawn gremlin who sticks from the machines and hides. So this gremlin was initially added as a monetization element. So if the player catches the gremlin, then a reward is suggested, or a bigger reward is suggested for watching the video. So this game object, unlike others, was not polished by me. I just kept it as it is in the first version, in the more upcoming versions. So why I didn't pay much attention to this gremlin? Because it solved the task at the current level, at the current state level. So sometimes I hope this sample would give you such thought. Perhaps I'm spending too much time to the task right now, which is not critical to my game's success. So this gremlin only shows for a couple of seconds on the screen. He is hidden behind the cogwheels, he hides back, and the player catches the gremlin, and that is all. So I did not spend much time investing in its looking really good, really cool, because I had some more important things to do. And this reminds me my previous mistake when I was making my strategization. I spent a whole week or several weeks to make actual weather system, which was later never used. So the developers should plan their times to tasks according to the task importance. So, and speaking about monetization at all, so we all know that we have something to eat, and when we release a game to mobile, then we should monetize it. One way of monetization is selling the games, there goes marketing and stuff, but other way is ads. So this is a sample from Berserk Studio game Zombiedel, and so this game shows ads to the player, like other games do. So why? To pay off already spent development time. So even when the game is in beta, and speaking about beta, I highly recommend to release it as better version to Google Play than to update it and to start building your community. Even if the game isn't better, we should think of monetization and starting gaining money. And once the game starts generate money flow, it will be much higher motivation to continue its work. Also, when the game is released or in beta, we should mention analytics. So the developers gather data on how players play the game, how players behave. Why? Analytics is need to analyze, and this is what many developers, including me, often forget to do. We just integrate analytics and just don't look at it and let it be. But analyzing analytics is a very useful tool, and later on, it seems to me, in this hall will be a very interesting talk about what parameters to get. But as a short advice, always we should look first at retention, because even Google takes retention into account to order the games and to bring more players. And also, some developers use parameter day 3 retention should be 60% of day 1 retention. It shows how the game keeps attention of the players. So perhaps even many players fall off from the first start because of lacks of tutorials, but if the game catches the player's attention, then it goes well, and it's worth investing more time into the development. So, again, example about when the game is released, players comment it. And we can look at some developers in mobile, in web, in Steam. The developer answers every player's comment. Why? To show the players that their opinion matters. And this is really critical for the game community building. When the player says that something they like in the game. And even more important, when the player says something is not liked by them in the game, they still spend their time to tell you. So we should thank them and tell them that we will work on the game improvement. And after that, many developers reported, including it's my own experience as well, and by many developers of the community, that when you answer the players' comments, other players see, oh, this is a good developer, they speak to the players, let's support them with the ratings, let's tell others about their games. And this is true also for Google. I can share my own tactics when I receive comments in different languages in Google Play. I at least try to say thank you in their own language. So I go find how is it thank you in Polish, in Estonian, in Finnish, and then add my explanation text in English. So at least to address the player in their own language to start addressing this small touch. Okay, one more about Lech and Friends Twitter account. So this development process stream. So several developers run channels on Twitch where they show how the game development is going. So why? To spend 1 hour of work and get results of 2 hours. After this 1 hour, they will receive addition to the game, like more code, more art, and they will receive marketing material. So you spend one hour and you get twice more of the results. For me, I haven't started a Twitch account, but I started making screencasts in my own work, and then releasing screencasts at expedited speed. So this also worked well. The players are eager to see how the game is made. Okay, now the players' community, which is, I think, the most important thought we should take after this lecture. I suggest you, if you haven't yet, create a Facebook group, even a group, not a page, or besides the page, and add the in-game invitation for the players to join the group. Why? To create a community and which it will support your future games and it will support your current games. Here you can run polls what to add in the game. Here you can gather bug reports. Here you can address directly to the players. Very good utilization of community is by Tap Builder game. Every day they send also codes for the players to enter the code and to get some in-game resources. Also, this game allows player-to-players sending the game resources without the server. Yeah, I'll get 1 more minute to the some more advice. So about the game Train Valley, they have press kit. And again, very obvious advice, but which many developers, including me, I haven't completed my yet, but to prepare a press kit. So you spend some time making it and then use it everywhere. So 1 hour spent now saves you several days of work later. Then result share. If the game has a community or if you are building a community, integrate a way for the players to share the results to social network. This will you receive a free app, your game promotion team. And about game promotion, so about this game Flipping Knife by Bereznev Studio, they asked to make Let's Play videos, not from the gaming channels, but from the channels about knives, because their game was about knives. Why? To reach the audience directly, to reach the players who would be interested in their games directly. So if you are making a game about something, you should promote the game to the communities which is about that something. Like, for example, I used this approach to promote my strategization. I went to strategy, not only to strategy games forums, but to historical forums about historical battles and so on. So, and the last, conferences, like we all know at Game Dev Days. So people go to conferences, and why do we go to conference? To listen to the practice and to use them in the games. So I suggest you to review your game right now or after the conference and think what of these practices, of its obvious advice, haven't yet been integrated in your games. So I wish you every success. Thank you for your attention. You're welcome to ask questions.
We have time for questions. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you for the talk. So one of the subjects that you talked about was hype. And hype comes in fast and goes fast, while there's another factor, nostalgia, that comes and stays. When is the best option to monetize on nostalgia?
Monetize on what?
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Well, about nostalgia monetization, I think I saw several. So first, obviously, nostalgia is all like pixel art games are built on nostalgia. Also, several games are made like a Game Boy emulation on mobile, but you play like a Game Boy. So really, nostalgia is not a hype which goes fast, but it's a really great addition to look what was popular while currently paying adults were children and make games about this. Yes, it's a great strategy which can be used well by the developers. Yeah, so I agree to look, so we can formulate, look what was popular when currently paying people were children and make the game about this. Great advice.
Any more questions? Yeah.
If you would have to like put those tips or like guidelines into like a order, what would you think would be like the top 5, I would guess, that would be necessary to focus on the most?
So the most is community. This is what was proven by my own experience, by other developers. So if it was only one advice, I should say create a Facebook group and create a link in your game for the player to join the group and give some in-game reward for joining or to at least click in the ring. This is top. And then answering the players' commands and inspiring the players to play more and share their results.